Today's edition of Top 5 Tuesday is all about family in country music, and there have been many great country music families, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about family members of country musicians who got famous for something other than music. At number 5 on our list, it is Chord Overstreet, the son of singer and songwriter Paul Overstreet. Now, Chord is a musician himself, but how did he first get fame and recognition on his own? By being an actor on the Fox series Glee. And now that did allow his musical talent to come to the forefront. Obviously a very music-centric show, and Chord Overstreet, starring as Sam Evans on the show, did a fantastic job. Chord Overstreet, son of Paul Overstreet, he's going to be at number 5. At number 4, we've got Jimmy Swaggart, the televangelist. Yes, he is the cousin of a pair of musicians, Jerry Lee Lewis and Mickey Gilley. And if you're looking for polar opposites on a family tree, it might just be Jerry Lee Lewis and Jimmy Swaggart. They've got to take the cake when it comes to that. Jimmy, of course, a televangelist throughout the 70s and 80s, but is more remembered today for the scandals that brought him down in the late 80s and early 90s. In 1988, he was caught with a prostitute, and that led to his very famous I Have Sinned speech on TV, the tearful apology. People decided to give him another chance, but he didn't really learn a whole lot the first time around, because in 1991 the same exact thing happened. That time, though, his response was to look at the press and say, "God told me it's none of your business." Jimmy Swaggart, he comes in at number 4. At number 3, DC Lund, Patty Lund, and Clark Lund, the parents and grandfather of Corb Lund, one of the best storytellers of the West here in Alberta. He comes from a family of rodeo royalty. His father, DC Lund, is a Canadian Rodeo Hall of Famer. He was a champion bulldogger. He was on the CPRA board. His mom, Patty, she is a history-making cowgirl in her own right. She won the very first barrel racing champion for the ladies at the Calgary Stampede in 1959, and his grandfather, Clark Lund, was an all-around champion at the Calgary Stampede in 1939. So the Lund family had already made a name for themselves in Alberta long before Corb showed up on the scene, but Corb is the one to do it through music, telling the tales that made his parents and grandparents famous, those great songs of the West and songs of the ranching and rodeo life. So Corb Lund's ancestry, DC, Patty, and Clark Lund, they're going to be number 3. At number 2, it is Ashley Judd, daughter of Naomi, sister to Winona, and while her mother and sister were a successful country music duo in the 80s, Winona had a successful solo run in the 90s, Ashley's fame came not through music, but on the silver screen. She started out in movies in the early 90s and was in some of the decade's biggest hits, movies like A Time to Kill and Double Jeopardy, forged her own path to fame and success. Ashley Judd is at number 2. At number 1, it's got to be Tug McGraw, the father of Tim McGraw. When it comes to famous non-singer relatives of country stars, the old Tugger's got to be at number 1 on this list. He was a 2-time All-Star in Major League Baseball, pitched for the New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies, and as a matter of fact, won World Series with both. Two of the most memorable World Series winning teams, the '69 Miracle Mets and the 1980 Phillies. As a matter of fact, in that World Series in 1980, he recorded the final outs, striking out Willie Wilson to end it and give the Phillies the World Championship. A tremendous career in baseball. He's a beloved figure in both Philly and New York, where he is in both the Phillies and Mets Halls of Fame, and the father of Tim McGraw as well. Unfortunately, we lost Tug much too soon. He passed away in 2004 at just 59 years of age, but he did get to see his son become one of the biggest stars in country music. And when it comes to non-singer famous relatives of country stars, Tug McGraw takes number 1 on my list. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Top 5 Tuesday. We'll be back again next week with more.